Right, good deal. Okay, so welcome everybody to our fourth K12 Tableau user group tug of the year. Happy New Year, happy Martin Luther King Day, probably happy second semester and third quarter for most of you out there. I think some of you started early January. Ours started this week, although we really haven't had much in the way of school yet because of the frigid temperatures here in Ohio. We are in the negatives this morning, so burr. But yeah, we are, and we're happy to be here. So. Um, as Stephanie was saying earlier, we have a lot of people here today, so everyone will be muted. Everything's being recorded, and as always, if you see something you like, share it. We definitely want to get the word out there on Tableau, on this tug, and hopefully encouraging people to use their data better. If you could, please open up the chat feature, introduce yourselves. Where you're from, what school district or charter school, community school, parochial, private school that you're joining us from today. You'll hopefully make some friends, some connections, seeing some similar or nearby schools. If you do have questions, please use the Q&A feature, and any general comments or praise, you feel free to use the chat on there, or to communicate with each other too. Um, okay, so we are very excited for the January edition of the National K12 Tableau User Group. This month, we are pleased to have several speakers on dashboard design and calculations that they've used in their Tableau experiences. Also, at the bottom of this slide is the link for our K12 TUG page. So if you're not currently subscribed to our TUG, join us, subscribe. We'll copy that into the chat along with the other links throughout the session today. So that way you'll be able to get to anything more easily, and you don't need to hand type that. Um, so my name is Robert Kramer, and I'm one of the three co-leads for the K12 TUG. We are now up to 444 registered community members. I'm a data analyst at Southwestern City School District in Grove City, Ohio. We have two other co-leaders in this TUG, Stephanie Henry and David Ogden. We'll go through introductions for them in just a minute here. But let's talk about the data fam. So what is the Tableau data fam? The Tableau data fam is an ever-growing global community full of so many helpful people and free resources. They're there to support you on your school's data journey. If you would like to learn more, again, there is a link at the bottom of this slide that we will post later in the chat. So now let's meet our co-leaders. And so I'd like to introduce Stephanie real quick and let her speak to her experiences here real quick.
Good morning, everyone, or afternoon. I guess it depends on where you might be dialing in from. I am joining you all from Denver, Colorado. I am a consultant with Plant Moran. You're wondering why in the heck are you part of our national K-12? Education analytics is near and dear to my heart. I've been in that space for 20 plus years now. I used to work for a large district here in Colorado where we started to use Tableau. So I've been in Tableau for quite some time, really passionate about this, especially the community. I lead a Colorado K-12 TUG, and then also asked to co-lead this. Fun fact, love live music, and made it to 7 concerts last year. And so looking forward to doing more than that this year. So thanks, welcome. I'm here to help facilitate, make connections. Looking forward to having you all part of this process.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephanie. So as I said, my name is Robert, data analyst at Southwestern City Schools in Grove City, Ohio. It's right outside Columbus. We are the 5th largest school district in the state of Ohio at around 22,000 students in 35 schools, pre-K to 12. I've worked at Southwestern in our data center for over 15 years, and we've been using Tableau for over 9 years now. So fun facts, I do actually serve the neighboring city on city council, playing a local pickleball league. Another one came up, we had some facts here at work, and I should have put it on here too. I am quite good and love Dance Dance Revolution. So there's an even more fun fact. Good way to get some exercise. Attending my 6th Tableau conference this spring. So if you're not signed up yet, please do so. It is a great learning experience. The best thing to do in convincing your boss is have your boss go. I feel my boss went, and he was sold. I mean, he understood the power of it, and he said, you learn a lot here. I get it. So you go here as each year. That's fine with me. So I'm very grateful to have a supportive group here. So now let's go over to David Ogden, let him introduce himself.
Hello all, I'm David Ogden, coming to you from the glorious Pacific Northwest here in Renton, Washington, home of the Boeing Corporation and many other things. And it's a special day for me after the national championship, because I actually know two of the players in Ohio. Robert, you didn't know that, but I know two of the players on the Ohio team. They're also here from Eastside Catholic High School here at the Pacific Northwest. And I coached one of them. I taught him everything that I know. And if I teach you everything I know about Tableau, you're going to be like him and have to learn a lot more. But there's always more to learn, and we're happy to have you here today.
Yeah, that has been quite a thing around here, as we were talking earlier in Columbus, as you can probably imagine. That is not my alma mater; mine is right behind me here. But obviously, love to support any Ohio team and how they do. Okay, so this time around, we have some swag to give away. We're going to be giving away 2 Tableau store gift cards. We're going to give them away at the conclusion of each of our presenters, presentations today. So stick around. We would like you to be here. I'm going to be entering the names into there. So if you're not here, your name's not on there, and you're not going to be here to win. So hopefully you can stick around for both the presentations to hear them and for some prizes at the end. If you are not eligible to win that, I get that some states, some districts, some organizations have policies against that. So just shoot me a message, because I feel really bad if you win and then you're like, oh, I can't accept it, right? Just shoot me a message and let me know that you can't win. And sometimes it's even a limit. Like if you say, well, I can only accept 25, that's fine. We'll just send you the 25 then, and we'll give away the 25 another time. So just shoot me a message and let me know, and we'll get you taken care of. And so now let's go over this. And David, is that you take over at this point here?
Yes. So welcome to the K12 Data Fam. Craig Numata, who I know over in Spokane, asked me who I know. I do know JT, and the other one was G Scott, number 44 and 88. Anyways, shout out to them. Great job, guys. But they're not part of the Data Fam. You're part of the Data Fam. And if you're new to Tableau, you can have wonderful resources at your disposal. We have some, Tableau does a great job helping people start out. And we also filmed or recorded many of our sessions, so you can learn more about how districts use the data and how school buildings use the data, and data from both in school buildings, things like attendance, but also we have data and videos or recordings about how school operations use it, and all sorts of things here in our Data Fam. So join our group, use the links, and just reach out when you have questions. And I'll post these links in a moment as we go to the next slide, which we talk about. Oops.
Is it okay to let you drive here, David?
So sure.
Yeah. All right.
And I'll let you tell you about upcoming events. We've got something in the works for February. We haven't quite figured out the date yet, but we're very excited to learn more and hear districts that are using Tableau Cloud and how they might use the AI that's built in to those features. And then we're going to have another normally scheduled meeting in April. And we'll have a community member and tips and tools you can use in K12. We are, I think we're pretty close to settling on who that will be, but if you're interested in presenting, and please let us know or reach out to us. We'll love to have folks come and present with us or to us and with us as you go along your Tableau journey. There are a lot of resources now from Tableau that are out there as they grow and you build your skills. They're growing along with you. There is the Data Fam Discovery, which is a wonderful place to go and learn. Here you can see here the link. This is relatively new for Tableau. They've started this out in a new capacity there and divided it into different areas where you can hear more, learn more. And then coming up at the end of this month is their first Data Fam Live. So they want to reach out to all community members and have this live kind of conference that they'll be talking about AI and some of the capabilities that they're rolling out. and a really good chance to hear about the things that are coming up, as well as to meet other folks. There will be a networking session at the end, and our K12 TUG and the Higher Ed TUG have gotten together to support that, and we'll be having a networking session at the end of this upcoming conference. So we hope you can join and sign up. There are also some I found recently looking through some of these community resources, some videos, some nice videos from the recent European conference, so you can travel without leaving your house. And the one about Viz extensions and the one about using dashboards that you didn't build were really helpful to me. And those are good ones to check out as well. And if you can, as Robert said, he's going to be going to TC, they call it, Tableau Conference 2025 in San Diego. We hope you can go as well. The signups have already started. Registration has already started. Pricing is out there. I can't remember what is off the top of my head, but I think there's some early bird pricing for you. And they do have, as you sign up, if you use an email or address and or a note that you are from an organization like a .org or a .edu or a school district, they have some, I think they have some 2-scale pricing going on there. So make sure you check it out and sign up to get information about that. The dates are April 15th to 17th in San Diego, and a lot of people have gone before, and it is a terrific event. I hope to go for my first time this year.
David, just to tell you, I think it was with the EDU government discount, I believe it was $1,050, which is a lot lower than what it has been. And if you had they put it in conjunction with the early bird this year. Normally they don't do that, and you get to use them both. And then if you were signed up in that Be the First to Know link, they even sent one that got it as low as $1,000. So
wow,
to be the floor. So yeah, that which is a bargain for what you get out of that, and it's also less than what it has been in most years.
So don't delay. Get those early bird prices.
Exactly.
And we have lots of announcements, but we think that you might have announcements as well. I do want to take a brief moment to recognize that it has been a difficult academic year for a lot of folks. We've had floods, we've had fires, and now we have a freeze. And school districts are often the largest employer in their local community, especially as the communities become more and more rural. Those school districts are often the biggest employer in those areas. So we know it's been tough. We're glad that you're here. I do have some optimism, and things will hopefully work out well, but we want to extend our sympathies for those that have had challenges now and are experiencing challenges now as you're either out of school, your kids are out of school, or things aren't going as well. But we know that you've had some good things that have happened as well. Did you get a promotion? Any new recent achievements? Some things that you've done, a dashboard that you're really proud of? Please share those in the chat. I'll give you a few moments to do that. And we really like to hear from you. Elisa says her birthday was yesterday. That's terrific. Happy birthday. My 1-year dog adoption was Sunday, so that was pretty exciting for me. Nick Teal says he migrated to the cloud almost painlessly or mostly painless. Josby launched his Tableau teaching channel. Oh, terrific. Congratulations. Ryan, you're going to have twins in 2 weeks. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Yes. So I know some folks are new fathers out there and can tell you about the sleep you're going to get, or maybe not, but terrific.
Lack thereof. Yeah.
That's very good news. And terrific for Claire having some positive media literacy results out there in Colorado. Oh my gosh, Tom, that's terrific. You passed your server admin associate certificate. Yes, congratulations. That's terrific.
Just a side note, when it comes to that certification at conference, you can do your certification there, and I believe it's slightly cheaper during conference. So just another kind of perk to going to conference. There's some free sessions, classroom style, the traditional conference, and then the certification.
Okay, well, thanks everybody. Appreciate you sharing your happiness with us and your accomplishments. And we'll now move next to Stephanie introducing Cody.
Go ahead and share my screen for the slides, and then I'll hand it over to you, Cody. Apologize for that transition here. Let me find the screen. Hopefully you're seeing it. There we go. All right. I get the pleasure of introducing Cody. Cody is a veteran in data and analytics with over a decade of experience leading transformative projects across various industries, including education, technology, and customer experience. Currently serving as VP of Data and Analytics at Derivita. Sorry, apologize if I pronounced that wrong. Cody Innovation Solutions to empower educators through actionable insights and predictive analytics. Cody was the VP of Data Science at InMoment, where he spearheaded development of multilingual NLP, natural language models, created data-driven executive dashboard, optimized enterprise reporting systems. Does it all, right? He also brings a rich background in Tableau development, building over 100 dashboards, diverse industries, developed persona-based reporting solutions that streamline decision-making. Cody is passionate about combining data architecture, machine learning, and visualization tools to deliver high-impact solutions that address real-world challenges. Quite the introduction. We are so fortunate to have him with us, and I'm going to stop sharing and hand the slides over to you, Cody.
Okay, all right, slideshow. Let's go to this. All right, here we are. You should be able to see my. So, all right, thanks. So I'm gonna just kind of give it a brief overview of what Derivita is. A lot of you probably haven't heard of it. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that, but just so that you've got a little bit of background. So what we're going to do, talk about Derivita, some of the challenges we faced. We were building the reporting the way we did. So I'm going to be talking about a little bit of how we went about choosing a vendor and some of the things that we did even in advance before we even started designing dashboards. And then after that, I just really want to dive into Tableau. And then my demo is going to be very Tableau centric around like, you know, how and why we did certain things in Tableau. And then if I have a little bit of time, I'd like to show at least some things that are kind of under the hood that, so you can kind of see kind of exactly, you know, how we did things. So what we do here at Derivita, so we're kind of like, you know, like math course assessment tools, right? So you can develop, we have high quality questions, right? So we have an item bank primarily for math, but we do some other subjects as well. And we're kind of, you know, curriculum agnostic. You can kind of bring your own curriculum. You can bring your own questions. You can even design your own questions within it. It's all, you know, can be auto graded. And then on our side, what we're talking about is like delivering the real-time analytics to, you know, hopefully what we're trying to do is like drive instructional improvement, right? So more background, just so you know where Derivita kind of came from. If you're familiar with Canvas and Instructure, which I'm sure some of you are, the Derivita was founded by the co-founder of Instructure, Devlin Daly. So this is like his kind of next big thing. And what he's all about. He's not here, but kind of one thing he says is like when he was at Instructure, one thing he always thought kind of needed some improvement was math instructional tools. And so this was something that he was really kind of passionate about. And that's kind of why he started Derivita. So basically, you could do the math, right? So we won't go into all of this, but it's auto graded. You could put in, an example will show that the student real-time preview of like what we're converting it into. You can see like the immediate feedback, in the homework, that sort of thing. So that's like we're talking about here is like, here's kind of just the data behind the reporting, right? And like what we're going to be looking at. This is where the students are using the system, and then we're, collecting that data so that teachers and coaches and principals and district level users can use this data to kind of drive decision making, right? So questions, enabled unlimited use cases, right? We would go through all of this stuff. If you'd like, obviously we'll have the slide decks. And then every question drives real-time analytics. So you can see here's our reporting, right? So now we're starting to see like what we're talking about is like, we've got personas and we're trying to deliver reporting for, not just, teachers, right? So we have teachers, we have, what we call it, like the professional learning community dashboards. So those groups, principals and coaches, district administrators, and they all have kind of similar, but yet different needs, for the data. So, one of the challenges, that we're coming up with that when we're going through and designing the reporting is how do we design the reporting so that we're kind of, meeting everybody's needs, right? And so that's the big thing. So, and then kind of my final slide here is like, this is all within your LMS, right? So delivering all of this reporting and everything, while you can stay within, whichever LMS you're using, right? So that's kind of the idea. So next thing, I'm just going to stop sharing real quick so I can switch. So first of all, we have we've only been using Tableau for actually a little less than a year now. And just to kind of give you an idea on some of the things that we started going through when we were doing this, first thing we did is we did an evaluation. This is the actual slide deck with my actual evaluation of every vendor that we went through. So this is kind of like just to hype up Tableau. When we were going through and figuring out like, okay, what is our use cases? I would say like, if you're going through this journey, like really do your homework, really kind of figure out like, okay, what are the things that are important to you? Put some thought behind it. Here's kind of our scorecard, right? So what are the things that are important to us? Here's our candidates that we looked at, and there's even more that didn't even make it to this round.
And Cody,
initially,
if you do this slideshow so we just see it a little bigger.
Oh yeah, no problem. Okay, there you go. So this is like the actual scorecard, right? So like going through and figuring out like, even before you start doing your dashboard design is like, okay, what's important to you? What do your customers or what do your users, what do they need to be able to see? What's important to you, right? So then going through and evaluating all of this. This took a couple months, right? But it was a worthwhile activity. You can see what else is out there. I have previous experience with Tableau. My first version of Tableau I ever worked on was Tableau 7, and I think I've worked on every single version since then. So I had that, but I also had a lot of experience with Looker and some of these other tools on here as well. And initially, honestly, like just to be candid, I didn't think Tableau was going to be the right choice, right? But once we started stacking everything up, they came with a very compelling story. The sales team at Tableau really stepped up to the plate and were willing to show like, yes, they were up for the job and they were the vendor of choice. So first thing we did was did a ton of homework on selecting a vendor. Once we selected Tableau and yes, no Power BI, that's right. Once we had selected a vendor, which was Tableau, and this was like last February, then we went through the task of interviewing our customers and our users. So this was interviewing internal users, right? So in our case, we have salespeople, we have customer support people, and we also have, customers. And what we did is we tried to take a large cross section of customers, that were doing different jobs at different districts, and had different needs, and we tried to solidify all of that feedback. So this is the actual, theme. So this is my notes. You can see from last updated February 9th. So it's been over a year, but this is what we did is we went through, we even, like asked some users to like walk us through a day in the life, like what do you use and how do you use other data, right? So that we can come up with this. So this is kind of our list that we came up with, right? So like, seamless integration with the platforms, right? It's got to be detailed item level analysis. This is what they want to see. All of these things that you can read here. But basically what we tried to do was do as much homework as we could on like, what do, our users, what do they need to get out of the reporting so that when we're going into it, our first version can come out strong. We know we're going to iterate on that. But this was kind of our guide. So the first thing I would say is like, do your homework, talk to your users, see what they need. And then it really goes a long way to deciding like how you need to, design your reporting and what needs to be in there. All right, so that's that. So let's kind of dive into the Tableau piece of all of this. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to dive right in. We use Tableau server, so we're not cloud-based because we have an embedded use case. So we're trying to embed Tableau within our platform. It's generally not where our users aren't landing in Tableau server to access the reports. But a couple things I just kind of want to show, just to kind of give you behind the scenes, is this is the actual workbook that drives our reporting. One of the things that we had found when we were talking to users was district level, school level people is like, I really need to be able to see what my teachers are seeing as well. And then we're also looking at it and say like, you know what, I need to be able to see results from these benchmark assessments that we're delivering. And they all kind of kind of had similar needs, but it was slightly different. And I'll kind of talk about that a little bit. And so the decision was made is like, this is kind of ambitious for those of you that have developed dashboards, but I made the decision just to put everything into one workbook. And depending on where the user is coming from, either the district dashboard or a school level dashboard or a PLC dashboard, teacher dashboard, these are kind of my main landing spots for where people kind of come into the reporting. From there, they can kind of dive into these other reports. But the reason I decided to put it all into one workbook, even though there were slightly different needs for reporting, was if I have to update, like, let's say the assignment report, right? This workbook here, I really didn't want to do that 6 times. And it makes kind of like iterating in the design a little bit faster than if I have to go through and try to get like, every single update, like pixel perfect. And then I'm not doing QA on 6 different dashboards or 6 different workbooks to make sure like they're all consistent and things like that. So it was a bit of a task to do it that way, but in the long run, everything's very consistent between reporting. I know like, district level people will be able to see what, teachers are seeing, for example, and it'll look, exactly the same, basically. So that's kind of like what we're going to be looking at. And this is what the workbook is. It's one workbook, for everybody. All right. Now let's switch over real quick. I'm just going to switch over to my demo dashboard. All right. Share. Okay, so this is my demo dashboard with demo data, obviously. So here's what we're looking at in terms of like a district level dashboard. So this is where a district level user is going to come in and land. There's a couple of things that I want to point out. Is although we've been using really, Tableau and this reporting for our users for like just this school year, so we're only like, a little over halfway. We're already kind of on probably our 2nd or 3rd version of reporting. And that's talking about like our design and pieces is after our initial version, there's a couple things that were changed. One, this landing page is like, oh, that's kind of boring. It's a table. It's, nothing too exciting, right? Here's where the initial landing page was on this activity page with like, wow, assignments per student and usage and, what are you delivering, at a district level. So you can see like what the cool activity is. But what I found is, and I found this through, if you're using Tableau Server or, Tableau Cloud, you've got reporting. And if you have access to it, it can be your best friend. Because one thing I did is you go through that reporting, you go through like, where are people landing? Where are people navigating to, when they land in reporting, right? So like, if you look at like traffic to views, one thing that kind of became abundantly clear is like, just real talk, nobody goes to that activity page. They land on it and they go away from it right away. So looking at all of the traffic, what people are actually looking for and what they're trying to do is they're trying to get to this page right here as fast as they can. So this is already designed where we're like, okay, let's actually put that first thing. Let's take a click out of the user's experience. They want to get here as fast as they can because really what they care about is they want to see like, what are the results of the benchmarks that have been given? How is it tracking? Who's delivering the benchmarks? Where do I need to focus my attention, right? So that's what we're doing. And so I would say one of the big takeaways is if you have access or if you don't have access to that reporting, I would say get it, because it's huge in terms of like understanding where people are going and where people are getting hung up, and even like what pages are slow, things like that. So that's one thing that we have in here. So if you look here and we dive in, this is all interactive, right? So if I want to say, we'll just kind of focus on the Algebra 1 final, right? So I'm looking at all district level data. If I click here, I'm going to go to my assignment report. And like I said, this is the same dashboard for everybody. This is a couple things that you'll see here is like you've got your top level metrics. We have assignment. This is the score distributions on this assessment. And then you have the item analysis. A couple things that are also really cool is, the viz and the tooltip. Everyone wants to know like, okay, which item is this? What standards are associated with it? A couple things that are really hard for us is like getting the actual question in there, and we're working on that. But this is other things that you can do to kind of like simplify your views, but then also kind of enhance and enrich the data on here. So I'm like, okay, that was question 28. Okay, which standards are associated with that item? Okay, that's cool. And then down below we do standards analysis. So we have overall assessment scoring, what is the distribution, then how did the performance on each item look, and then how does that look if you start to aggregate that by standard, right? So we can see how that breaks out like this. We're using kind of these breakouts: mastery, near mastery, and emerging, where basically it's 90% and above is mastery on this particular assignment. But this is actually configurable by customer. So if a customer wants to use like different breakouts, which we definitely have customers that don't want to just use our default, that's configurable by them. The cool thing about this too is like, this is the assignment report, but one thing that we talked about and we got feedback is like, hey, I want to be able to compare how everybody's doing, right? So this is where coming in and designing for different personas kind of comes into play in how we do it, right? So now if I'm going to use, now I can go to my assignment comparison. So we're looking at a district level. Okay, let's drill down in and see like, oh, let's compare the schools. Who, how many have been administered? How are they doing? Each individual school. And then we have I try not to use the word benchmark. It's kind of a loaded term in education. But this is the comparison line. So this is the district average. Oh, okay. How is each school doing against that average? A couple other handy viz and tool tips, right? So I can add in like a viz showing like the teachers at that high school. So that way, when you're in here, you can be like, take some clicks away, you get a kind of a quick analysis like, oh, okay, how is each teacher doing? getting down to into the item analysis and the standards performance also, right, on this individual assignment. A couple things I've kind of learned is our customers and our users really like heat maps. They're used to heat maps. They're familiar with it. So in this view, we're using heat maps, not the, most eye popping, kind of chart in the world, but that's, it's resonated well with our users. It's the other thing too, is like, it's what they're used to, but they're also like, yeah, I get it. It's easy. I understand exactly what I'm looking at without, having to figure it out. Because before it was like, cool bar charts with a bunch of like, reference lines, and they're like, I don't understand. It's like, okay, we'll just simplify it down, right? So the key is listen to your customers or your users and talk to them as much as you can. So that's kind of like, if you're looking at it from a district dashboard, let's kind of back out of this and just kind of show you a couple of the things. So if I'm at a district level, I see school, right? So now I can drill down here and we can look at it from a school perspective. And just to kind of give you a quick idea, right? So we're focusing in on this Algebra 1 final for this particular school. So if we kind of do that same thing, we go to the exact same report that we were looking at before, but only for this particular school. The other thing too is I'm driving, titles and charts based off of where they came from. So now I'm looking at this Algebra 1 final from the school dashboard. And then if I go into the comparisons, a school level user may not always care, like they want to see like how their teachers or the courses are performing at their school, right? So that's kind of the idea here. Oh, okay, so now I see how the teachers are doing. I can see each individual teacher's performance. I can see my district average and I can see the school average. Like, oh, okay, so I can see like where everybody's kind of, stacking up. The idea here is, and the reason we got feedback why users wanted this, especially at school and district levels, is like, it's like, I want to know where do I need to go, and put my resources, right? So I can say like, okay, does a teacher need additional resources to kind of get, their students, up to where they need to be? Or also too, like, hey, like, I want to know like, how am I stacking up, against my peers in the district, right? That's another piece of it too, for praise, or be like, hey, what are you doing that's like, so much better, how can we do that, all in the kind of in the interest of like learning and sharing, right? And again too, right now we're looking at school level, so now we're designing for principals and coaches. They need to be able to see the teacher, right? So same assessment, same assignment, but just kind of a slightly different view on things. Again, not earth-shattering stuff here, but just to kind of make it so that everyone's kind of seeing what they need to see. So now we've looked at district and school. Now, if you say like let's go down like one step further into a course, right? And this is where a teacher would see like their individual courses. So this would be this particular course, and the view is a little bit different. And the reason being is like the idea for the teachers when they're going through the course, and what we try to do is like, I want teachers to spend as little time as possible in reporting. This should be like 5 minutes over coffee on a Monday morning. And it should be like, okay, if I want to click and look at my most recent assignment, it's right there. I don't have to go searching for it per se. Is there anything I need to manually grade? What's my kind of, overall metrics? Are there any standards in here that are off, right? So these are my bottom 10, standards, right? They're the standards with the lowest percent of students at mastery, right? And then I can be like, okay, yes, we just started that. I get it. It is low. Oh, look, we've been working on this for a while and it's still lower than where I think, right? They can just look at it and move on, right? Or they can drill in and view that as well. So this is all kind of drillable. Same with students, right? So here's overall, if I want to see like, okay, I've got some students that aren't, where I need to be, I can see who they are. I can click in on them and then, I can, see where they're struggling, and off they go. We can dive into that a little bit further, but part of the idea here is like, let's kind of look at, take the journey through a particular assessment that was given across the district. So this is the Algebra 1 final for this particular course. drill in, it's going to be the same view, right? Just before. But if I'm going to the assignment comparisons, this is where it gets a little bit different for like a teacher, right? It depends on the districts, and it depends on like, what everybody's willing to share. But some districts are like, I don't want other teachers to see the results of other teachers' classes, but I still want them to be able to see where they compare, right? So now, if a teacher goes into this course view for this assignment, they can say like, oh, okay, I averaged a 43.5 on the assignment. How does that stack up? Oh, okay, I'm a little bit ahead of my peers for the school and the district, right? So that's good. Maybe I'm, doing a little bit better. Okay, awesome. How did I do on every single item, right? So now this is a view where it's like it's a little bit different from what we're looking at from a school and district level, but I can see like, oh, okay, I did poorly here, but so did everybody else. That's interesting. You can kind of get a sense of like where you kind of stack up. Oh, here's one that I was a little under where the district was, just to kind of give everybody a sense of like kind of where they stand up, kind of a little bit of a comparison, right? So that's kind of like how we're thinking about designing for different personas and things like that. um, so that's kind of that piece there. The other thing too is like this is we're trying to make this interactive, making it so there's less clicks, things like that. But that's kind of the idea, is like, how do we get those design things so that we're meeting kind of everybody's needs, and kind of everyone's still seeing the same thing, right? So that's kind of a quick overview of how we're thinking about it in our dashboards, just looking at it from an assessment comparison. Now, there's a lot more to our reporting. We don't need to go through a deep dive of reporting. I just want to kind of stick the persona-based design. But if there's interest, we can talk about everything else as well. Kind of the next thing I want to do is just kind of take this idea and just show you quick, like, okay, in Tableau, how did some of this get pulled off, right? So let's see, I am going to stop share something else. I want to share, let's look at this in Tableau desktop real quick.
Yeah, Cody, as you go along, that's terrific. Thanks for sharing all this. Keep going, and typed in the chat. Feel free to type your questions in the Q&A as Cody keeps going.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate that. So let's look a little bit in terms of like how this was pulled off. So a couple things that's like, as you're going through and do this, a lot of updates recently in Tableau when it comes to like visibility zones. So this kind of leverages visibility zones, and then also like dynamic parameters. And so just to kind of give you an idea of, if I were looking at this dashboard and I go into the actions view, does that pop up? Okay, there is a lot of actions. I admit this is a lot. But a lot of what we're doing here is setting like the parameters that drive visibility zones and things like that. So that way, when they're coming from the district dashboard and to the assignment, that they're getting the right view they need to see, and it knows like which part of a chart to show. So that's a lot of what we're doing. So in here, there's a couple things. I'm going to go into this sheet. So this is that assignment worksheet, this kind of simple table here. So in here, what we see is, here's the sheet, but I'm also hiding a lot of columns in here. So in order to kind of do some of that, to pass in to say like, okay, show me the benchmark or the comparison for the district. And then, so it's basically like you turn on one view and then turn off another. So I've got one field that's like, this is just true. This is all the field. It just says true. This one's just a Boolean for false. I've got a couple other things in here that you don't see, like are they SIS integrated? That's like kind of customer based. And then I've got another thing too. It's just like district dashboard label. This tells me like, it's just a label that says district dashboard, but I'm using that to kind of drive where what I'm showing in the next view, right? So if you were to see that, that's district dashboard. That'll set this kind of dashboard parameter in that way. So I'm kind of doing a little bit behind the scenes. And so actions real quick. Now that we've kind of seen that, I'll just kind of show you quick how some of this works. So basically I'm setting the dashboard name. Let's see where. So in here, I'm setting the source. Let's see, where's the district dashboard? Why don't I see it? Well, I can just show you here. So if I go in here, I'll just kind of show you, I select which sheets I want to do. I'm selecting the parameter that I want to change. And then I'm saying like, what is my source field? So I'm setting it to true, right? So this is like, show this dynamic zone. I don't, where is the dashboard one? Sorry, I can't see it. But, oh yeah, it's up here, I think. This one, set dashboard. So basically what I'm saying here is it's like, okay, I want to set the dashboard parameter to district dashboard, right? So I'm setting a parameter, and that's like a game changer. Like for some of us that were like, had been using Tableau for a long time and be like, man, I really wanted to change parameters with actions and have dynamic parameters. So now if I come in here, I'm setting this zone. So if I come in here, I'm going to drill down. Hopefully my server didn't time out on me. We have a very short timeout window for security reasons, but so now the couple of things is on this landing page. I'll break this out so we can see these charts over here are worksheets, right? So I'm using these as actions, but some of these are appear dynamically. So this one in particular, whoops, don't do that so quick. I am using like, this is a benchmark nav. Not every assignment has a benchmark because it's not a common assessment, right? So if it's just like homework that you've assigned in your class, like you don't really need to see comparisons of other classes because there's no other classes to compare it to. So this won't show up on those types of assignments because it's not relevant. So right, so we're trying to just show what's relevant. But if I go here, now you can see like, okay, all of those kind of dynamic zones and things like that I'm setting, I'm using dynamic zones to say like, okay, what should show up here, right? Change. So just to kind of show you, like, this is a school comparison. If I want to see teacher comparison, I can change. This is basically what it's doing kind of in the background, is just changing a parameter, and then it's just showing a different view within these charts of like which basically level of detail do I want to show. So that's kind of the end of my presentation and kind of, where I wanted to show. I appreciate everybody, listening to me, but if you've got any feedback or any questions, I'm, happy to take them. So.
Oh yeah, thanks, Cody. That's terrific. So yeah, and that whole dynamic zone visibility and user parameters, I dropped some links in the chat to help people get some background on that if they haven't used them before.
Awesome.
Folks with questions or comments, please type them in now as we think about it. Some of the things I really liked, I really always appreciate when people put in the drop line for the average. So I think that's a really nice idea. I noted that you had nice, clean sheets and the design, and it started with the larger and then got more complex or deeper as you go into it. You also got a nice comment, Claire liked your tooltips and awesome. Some other things. And so, yeah, to the dynamic zone visibility and the parameters are really useful. Some people call it sheet swapping, but that's really kind of what you showed at the end there, how you swap the view from one person or one, what'd you call them? Perspective to another.
Yeah, one level, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, terrific. Let's see if any questions come in.
I don't see any, so I think that we can just monitor that, and then we'll go into the presentations and look if you see something that comes through close here, maybe you can just reply to that person. It'd be great.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, so yay, first $50 gift card. And by the way, Google Gemini, the fun things it can come up with, and just kind of give it some parameters and tell it what you want and kind of throw in a few more requests, and you get like golden graphs and a spinning wheel on here, and it's amazing. So anyway, that's fun. Oh, let's exit out of this and go to the wheel. So I did get all this loaded towards the beginning of that presentation. If you joined late, don't worry, I will double check for the next one and get you on there. If I spin your name and you're not here, then I'm going to spin again. So you should have stuck around, but you're not here, so you won't care. Here we go. Let's spin and see who our big winner is. Well, with the Antarctica theme here with the weather. Paula Kavanaugh. Paula, are you here still? You are wonderful. Okay, I will send you a
Whoop, whoop, Paula from Spokane. Whoop, whoop, BMW.
I will send you a DM with my email address and everything, and we will work out the details to get you the $50 gift card of swag. So, all right, let me go ahead and stop sharing and pass it back off.
Yeah, congratulations, Paula. That's terrific. Just met with her last week as we networked together. And as we network together, next up in our presentation is embedding percentiles in Tableau dashboards. A little quote there from Irving Berlin. And I'm proud to introduce a colleague of mine, Brian Goddard, and also former colleague and also friend of mine, Nick here. I'm the Renton School District, as is Brian, and Nick is over in the Kent School District. We're neighboring districts, and we also have similar sizes and themes and students sometimes go back and forth as they move across our boundary there, but very happy to have them here presenting together.
Yeah, thank you guys. I think Nick is getting the presentation ready. There we go.
As David said, Brian and I are former coworkers, current very good friends, and we are neighboring school districts just south of Seattle. I'll give you 1 second. Okay, so today we are going to be talking about embedding percentiles inside a Tableau dashboard. Our agenda for our quick presentation will be, first, we want to ground ourselves with data beliefs. Then we will talk about the motivation of why would you want to embed percentiles in a Tableau dashboard and talk about some use cases. Brian's going to talk about statistical requirements and other possible solution, the pros and cons of both, and why we really like the solution that we came up with. Oh, as an aside, this was a collaboration. I was literally messaging Brian being like, hey, how should I do this? And I had some terrible solutions and he had some better solutions. And this is the result of that collaboration. And then we're going to pop out of the PowerPoint and build in real time. And then file downloads, everything that we will be sharing, you'll be able to download at the end of this presentation. So here are their data beliefs. These are the Renton School District data beliefs, but Kent has a pretty similar set. Data do not pass judgment. They are neutral. This is very important when we're talking about percentiles, assigning a student, you are 95th percentile on the ELA, like that is data, that is not judgment. Data provide snapshots. They are trends at a given time or over time. Data do not provide answers. They guide inquiry. More data can lead to better questions. There is a thing as too much data, and data is only valuable if you do something with it. This is something that we just like to ground ourselves in before doing many presentations with principals and counselors and whatnot. Okay, why do you want to embed percentiles in a dashboard anyway? Well, percentiles are frequently used when you are doing something like a highly capable identification or special education or various other programmatic replacements. If you're like me and you use Excel or R to calculate percentile, calculating percentiles before, it can be pretty cumbersome. And the way that we're going to do this is going to save time and it'll future-proof some stuff. is going to increase equity because you're going to have the same exact system every year after year after year. And we're going to show some examples on how you can use this to calculate percentiles based on like a school or a student group, such as a gender or free low income, yes or no, or a English language learner, yes or no, if part of your highly identification process uses those types of subgroups. And one other piece of motivation that I have is that this is kind of part of one of the presentation submissions I did to the Tableau conference. So I really hope it gets picked so I get that free ticket. Just a little motivation there.
All right. And I hope you get picked too, Nick. So what we're going to be talking about is using a calculation to simplify everything into a single step. And we'll show you what that is when we hop over into Tableau. But it's important to remember that what we're dealing with here, these calculations assume a normal distribution. And those of you who've taken stats courses, you know how many times you've heard that, like, oh, assuming a normal distribution, blah, 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 blah. This is one where the calculation does absolutely break if you don't have a normal-ish distribution. Now, you don't need to do any like complex calculations, but as I say here, when you run this calculation, throw your data into a histogram real quick, double check that it looks normal enough. Otherwise, the calculation kind of breaks. Okay, so I wanted to preface everything we're about to say with that. Okay, go ahead and next slide. How to get a percentile. So there's a few ways. One, for those of you who remember, people used to need to look up what a percentile calculation would be after calculating a z-score from a big old table in the back of their stats textbook. Now, fortunately, that is not the method we are going to recommend to you. So what else could we do? Well, you could use Excel, all right? I think most of us are pretty familiar with how Excel works. The upside is that familiarity, right? It can be very precise. It is a tool that we're used to using, but the downside, it's much harder to set it up in a way that is automated. You'll have to retype this every time, and you'll have to sort of explain the process. And I'm going to hop over into Excel at the end of this slide and sort of show you what I mean by that. You can also use R or Python. Now, the advantage here, R and Python are incredibly powerful tools. For those of us who are familiar with them, you can do a lot with them. However, a few downsides. One, even though I'm fairly familiar with Python at this point, I still have struggled to get that Tableau Python integration. So if you want to have it moved over into Tableau, we're still going to have some issues. And two, this is a much higher barrier of entry. There's a lot of people who have no familiarity with these tools. So let's try something else. What else do we have? Well, there's Tableau Prep. Tableau Prep has the advantage of it is designed to make your data easy to see, easy to clean. But there are downsides there as well. So one of the key downsides with Tableau Prep is if you want something automated in Tableau Prep, you need to pay for an additional license for the Prep Conductor, which can be a lot of money. I know that our district didn't have it for a very long time. And also and the other side of Tableau Prep is it can be very slow at times. Those of you who've worked with it might know what I'm talking about. I was ready to throw my computer out the window the other day because we had to do some work in Tableau Prep. So what are we going to do, Nick? We're going to use a sigmoid approximation of the standard normal integral, which is a really fancy description to do one step for a calculation. That's going to be the easy method. Nick, if you want to stop sharing for just a second. I know, right? So easy to say, Robert. I'm going to share my screen real fast, and I'm going to show you those other methods so you can get a feel for what they would look like. So let's see. Entire screen. So this will be fun. Yep. All right. So, infinite regress. All right. So if I go over to the Excel, so I just sort of a quick mock data set here. And to calculate a percentile, and in this case, I'm trying to calculate a percentile taking into account grouping by income status, you end up with this fairly long calculation where you have to do a count ifs over a count ifs with multiple calculations nested, where you essentially say, find all of the kids in the same grade with the same income status who have a lower or equal reading score and divide it by how many kids are in that subset, right? So that ends up being, it gives you a precise calculation. That's one advantage. Even if the data isn't, you can get a precise calculation of a percentile, but it ends up being pretty cumbersome. And once again, you can't automate that. Now, if I bounce over to this, the infinite regress real fast before it falls in, just a quick little rundown of if you were to use Python, again, you have this quintile calculation where you can calculate what level in a data set would be different percentiles. Now, the simple calculation here, quintile, actually doesn't give you a student's percentile. It lets you know what the cut score would be for a percentile. So here we could see what would the 10th percentile be and then go from there. But as you can imagine, that's not exactly what we're looking for. And to get the actual calculation can take a lot more time. And then finally, in Tableau Prep, you can use a ranking calculation. But again, as I said, Tableau Prep can be a little bit slow. Just note how long even this is taking to load. And the upside is if you do run Tableau Prep, you can be quite quick with it. But a lot of us don't have access to a way to automate Tableau Prep. And so we're going to want, and I'm going to have to go back to that infinite regress to stop sharing. There we go. So those are some of the other ways that we can do this. Again, the advantages of a lot of these, you might be a little bit more precise. This is an approximation, but it's an approximation good to what, Nick? 8 decimal places if the data is normally distributed. So we're going to go into Tableau and we're going to show you how to use the sigmoid approximation of the normal distribution integral. Nice long name. And this was the paper that
Oh no.
Is it frozen?
Oh, I just lost. My screen's being funky. Never mind. Okay. I'm not going to share the paper, but basically this method we're going to do is accurate from plus or minus 8 z-scores, which is the 99.9999 percentile. So you'll be fine. So as part of our file download, Brian and I have just a sample data set. We got 1,000 students. We have some fake grades, some fake gender, and some fake scores we made. There are 2 tabs on the Excel file that you'll be able to download. One of them has formulas embedded in for how we made our fake data, in case you were curious of how we did it or want to replicate this yourself. And then I just made a copy for a flat file just so that the random data doesn't change between presentations, and you'll be able to recreate exactly one-to-one what we're doing. So I have so I loaded that flat file into Tableau real fast. And so we are going to start making percentile scores for students. And whenever I do anything like this, I really like making a cross tab first. Well, actually, before we do that, let's do what Brian said, and let's make some bins. So I'm going to take our cognitive assessment and go to the show me and make some bins and see what it looks like. Looks normal enough to me. We can proceed. So I'm going to make a cross tab real fast. This looks good enough. And I'm only going to be walking through the cognitive assessment today. So in order to make a percentile, the way that we're going to do it, first you need a z-score. How do you make a z-score? You need an average and a standard deviation. So also real fast, if you download our Tableau file, we have kind of the steps listed out here in folders, and each field is just step-by-step how you can do this yourself. So first, we're going to calculate an average. And we're going to, Brian, let's step in if you want to talk at all. We're going to be doing a fixed calculation. And normally, for this type of calculation, we want to get of all the second graders, what was the average? And this is where, so we need to fix this by grade. If you have, any, if you have any experience using fixed calculations, they are very powerful in Tableau, but you have to make sure that you're fixing at the right level.
And this is also, I'll just say while Nick continues to type out the average of the cognitive assessment, this is also where if you have as part of your system, looking only at at gender or income, you can add a fixed or school. You can add that fixed right in here, and that's where you'll get the average just for that subgroup, as opposed to average throughout the entire grade. So we can see that every student here has the same average. Oh, there's some third graders. I forgot that. I was like, those are different. But yeah, so we can see that all of the second graders or third graders have the same average for their grade. And then you need the standard deviation.
And do the same thing again. Yep, so it looks like, so we have a score, we have our average, and we have a standard deviation. We can create a z-score. What's the formula for a z-score? Well, I have it linked in the Google Doc, but here's the z-score formula. It's just
the difference.
Score. Yeah, go ahead, Brian. Sorry.
Difference from the score to the average divided by the standard deviation. So it's how many standard deviations away from the average you are.
Yeah, so now we can turn these z-scores into percentiles. Yeah, and I'm going to copy and paste the formula, but let me I'll pull it up real fast. This applied mathematics from quite a while ago, but we get a formula right here that we are going to copy and paste because I'm lazy and I don't want to type this out. But the moral of the story is what Brian was talking about earlier with there's high barriers to entry with R, cumbersomeness with Excel. Can you copy and paste a formula? If so, you can do this. And that's what we want to show today. And hopefully maybe you get inspired to do this, maybe not with your highly identified or gifted population. Maybe you're like, oh, I need to do percentiles for this, and it's always a pain. Hopefully you're, I'm actually already using this in another project for our our 6th grade math placement, rolling it from elementary to middle school.
So yeah, go ahead and calculate a field. And so, yeah, you can see how this one looks a little bit wonky. You want to hold that one up for one more second, Nick? The calculation. So, yeah, you can see how it looks pretty wonky. It's got some, and you do have to be precise to those, 8 or 9 decimal places to get this to work. But once it's all in place, all you need to do is replace where your z-score calculation is, and the whole thing does the work for itself.
Yeah, for example, if you've already calculated your other z-scores for for your other assessments, because we will use normally you'd want to use a combination of English, math, cognitive, and this and that. So if we already have those other ones, we can just go ELA fall z-score, pop, 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 done. We calculated percentile for another assessment. And if you're like Kent and you have automated data flows, like we use iReady and we download the data every night, this is set up to point to iReady. Or my real dashboard is set up to point to iReady fall, winter, and spring. And these percentiles, as data flows in, it just calculates. I have to do nothing. It's great. And yeah, so now we have, for student ID 1, at Goddard Elementary, their 2nd grade, this is their score. For all 2nd graders, this is the average, the standard deviation, their z-score, and this student is in the 22nd percentile. Pretty slick. And then you can very quickly find your students in the top percentiles, and so on, and then move forward with whatever you're trying to accomplish. And this can lead to some pretty cool charts as well, because our gifted and talented identification team, they really just want a list of students and then kind of go side by side. But if you're calculating these percentiles, you can use it to make like scatter plots. And I'm actually going to quickly pop over to a draft of this is actually a draft of my real dashboard. So we have a fall iReady math and fall iReady reading on my X and Y axes. Each dot is a student, and I can see these blue dots are the students who are currently identified as highly capable. And it makes sense. They're probably 90th percentile in both, with a handful of outliers. But what's really interesting too is these are all the students who are not identified as highly capable in the Kent School District. And some of these students are 99th in both. They're like 90 plus in both. Maybe they should be referred for gifted services as well. So this is a really quick visualization. So you can imagine just, creating a spreadsheet like this, creating a scatter plot like this, having dynamic, X and Y axes, because we have, 20 different assessments here that we use, and you can just, whatever you want, make some quick comparisons. Mm-hmm. I found this to be really powerful. Oh, and also just as a side note, our real data is normal as well, not just our fake data.
That is, again, necessary check.
Yeah. So, and I think unless there's anything else we want to add, that concludes our presentation. Hopefully you found this useful, and you can just, our goal is that you'll be able to copy and paste this and just run with it, and you save yourself some time. Question, how do you explain percentiles to end users? That's a great question. I'm going to share this link in the chat real fast.
So, I would say, as far as our work, I've been in the highly capable identification team, not as much this year, but in past years. And I feel most people in education have an idea of a percentile of it's the percentage of students who a student is outperforming. And that's sort of how I usually describe it, is this student's score is better than 95% of their peers. And this, in the same way that like a lot of score files, I know the iReady score file includes a national percentile. This just gets us at a more granular level. Yeah, Jennifer, exactly. The not paying for the conductor makes prep feel like a very partial tool. Like it's almost there, but without conductor, there's so much that you're missing. So, are there any questions?
I want to share one more quick thing. Oh. So this is in our example workbook that you can download as well, where we have cognitive percentile, ELA percentile, and math percentile. Okay. And what you can do really fast to kind of rank all your students, we have 3 assessments, each 0 to 1 or 0 to 100%. If you just multiply all those really quickly together, you can create like a quick ranking calculation. And we included a term selector in here between fall and winter because, just as an example, because maybe you create this workbook in the fall, but your winter scores aren't in yet or something along those lines. But we want to be able to show you how you can future-proof this for assessments that don't exist yet. But what's great is you can multiply, our 3 percentiles together, and you get a quick rank. And the laws and guidance might be different in your state and what you can do for identifying your gifted students. But this is just a really quick way of being like, oh, these are students who are top in all 3. They're probably in for sure. Instead of having to pick and sort and do all these things and compare to everyone, it saves everyone a ton of time.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, were there any questions in the Q&A, or?
I'm not sure I got the Q&A to work properly, so some people were having challenges. My apologies, but people were putting things in chat, and that's good as well. Really, similar to Robert, I love a good scatter plot, and this is really helpful. And thank you for sharing all this work with the community in the Google Drive. I'll make sure I include that in the slides as well for folks coming in the future. So Nick, just tell us a bit about a little more about when you most recently used this.
Well, we are currently, for more context, every year around this time, we'd get a request from our, the team that would be doing identification for our new students who are going to be in the highly capable or gifted program. And every year, without fail, there's always a little back and forth. Oh, can you add percentiles based off of this? Oh, can you, add, this, or can you add this assessment and give us percentiles by grade in school? And it's always the one more, right? So that's why kind of the crux of this was to sit down and be like, okay, tell me everything you need, and we're going to do it once and automate it, like everything you can imagine. And I have a unique file for kindergartners. One, I think it was like first and second, 3 through 5. So there's a handful of different files that are used based off of different grades now, which is pretty cool. And our team is just really excited to have this at their fingertips. And in the future, they won't have to depend on me to pull the data for them. They will be able to do it themselves. And then having some of those visualizations as well of like just that quick view of like those 90/90 students and stuff like that, just to make sure that like we're including everyone that really should be, right? So this is a pretty fresh project in the Kent School District. It's actually not really complete yet. I got the kindergartners is 100%, but the other grades are a work in progress.
Thank you. Brian, you can answer Bill's question.
I was going to say, could you clarify your question a little bit when you say why use a non-normal measure in your scatter plot? If you the scatter plots, we're looking at the scale scores, which they're not correlated. I'll concede that, but the data itself is should be normal. More or less. This data should be very normal because we more or less hard coded it to be.
And that's why I wanted to share the real example because
you'd expect a level of correlation between different exams.
I actually have a question for you. I don't know what student information systems you guys use, but do you have a place to store percentiles in there? Just a thought, like you again try to do things up front to take some of the heavy lifting from Tableau to do those calculations potentially before loading. Like if you say, I don't know, when you get like that CSV from iReady and you go to load it into your system, have you ever thought about doing that, about getting the percentiles calculated, like you said, maybe in Excel, not very pretty, but once you get it in there, then the world is your oyster. You can use Tableau or anything else to get that out of there, or is that just not work with the way you guys get those loaded in?
So we both use Skyward Cumulative.
Okay.
And you can add a percentile as an assessment score there. However, the sort of downside to that is, as we said, iReady comes with a national percentile, but this work here is around local percentiles. It's around percentiles for even potentially smaller subgroups. And so that data is not in a CSV download. So that's why doing the work prior to loading it into the SIS would just be redoing the work every time, as opposed to this where we're taking like and when we do it in Renton, we essentially say a student's percentile, we give them the max of the national percentile, the local percentile within the district, or the percentile within whether or not it's a title school and whether or not a student's low income. So we sort of give them a few different ways to be calculated. And so that's how we use this tool, but that's why it can't just be loaded directly into the SIS.
Yeah, the subgroup sounds like the biggest problem, right? If you'd wanted to do the local one, you could obviously load that instead of the national, or maybe in addition to for one. But if you're doing multiple subgroups, then that becomes untenable, and you're going to have to calculate. Okay, that makes sense. I was just kind of curious. That was something that kind of came to my mind, and I missed the subgroup piece as I was watching this. So thank you.
And to answer Bill's question, why are we could just be using like we could just be using like the scale scores, right, to create a scatter plot. It's just an example on how we can do this. I don't know. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, I mean, I think as part of the reason for why we might use percentiles as opposed to other measures, whether that's the scale score, the Z-score, anything like that, is the readability for the end users. I know that previously, who was it who asked it? Claire asked about how we explain percentiles. In my experience, a lot of our end users, a lot of people on these committees know percentiles pretty well, but they are very unfamiliar with other statistical measures. So the percentile is a way to normalize it such that people have a good interpretation of what they're looking at. I think that makes more sense now that we understand what your question is, and I hope that answers it.
Yeah, you said it did, and so that's terrific. Got some nice. I think you've shared with the community some things that are really going to help them move forward. As some people had said, they're doing the work right now, and maybe it's something you can use right away, Jennifer. So thanks for all that preparation and sharing your new work. Now I understand it's new work for Kent and the things that you've discovered. Okay, another gift card. Let's go, Robert.
Okay, so prize time, second gift card. All right, so let's go ahead and head over to the wheel of names. All right. I did remove our last winner because that would be unfair, wouldn't it? We wouldn't want her to win twice. That would look rigged. So we did have at least one new person who joined us for the second presentation. So we've got him added in. And Priyanka A. Yes, let's see if Priyanka's still on here. Priyanka is still on here. Okay. Yeah, oh, there she is. She messaged, yay. Okay. I will go ahead and
Hey, Priyanka.
my email, and let me just say the Google Gemini 2, oh my gosh, so much fun with putting these together. But something else that I was able to do, just kind of messing around a little bit with it, we've had some talks in our district recently about kind of revamping our school district logo. It's been around forever, and we have 4 high schools here, and it was just kind of a fun thing to get some ideas and get some, honestly, sometimes pretty hilarious results too. Like, can you combine all 4 of our logos, a golden falcon and a greyhound, the dog, not the bus, although that might be cool, and a cougar that is green, and a comet, the one in space, not the bird, which was the biggest problem. Put all those together, and it just made some like really neat stuff. You can kind of reimagine some of your school logos or something, and like, well, what happened if they're attacking a city? And you can just do all kinds of neat stuff with that. So shout out to that, I suppose. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing, and I will message you, Priyanka, and we'll get you set up with a gift card.
All right, we are wrapping things up here. Looks like we've lost a few folks. Just want to say thank you. Plant Moran is a sponsor of this group and allows me to volunteer time and keep this TUG group going along with my TUG co-leads here. So just as a way to kind of honor that, giving me a slide here to say that we're here to support anything Tableau specifics, Tableau server, cloud, migration, mentoring, buckets of one-on-one hours to ask questions, etc. We do have some self-paced trainings to allow you to learn at your own pace within the actual tool itself. And as a firm, we offer infrastructure, technology audit, cybersecurity, governance. So if there's any opportunities for us to support you, reach out to me. Would love to see how we can support you in the district. Just again, as a reminder, working for February and March to figure out at some point how we can talk AI. Tableau is moving at the speed of light and introducing some new concepts and some new features. And so we want to make sure that we bring those to you. We also want to hear from you all and find out like where you are in that journey and what you're doing to prepare your data. And so if your district is thinking about, in progress of, or has been successful launching, we'd love to hear from you to see if we can pull you in for some roundtable discussions as we begin to think through what that presentation might look like. We do have our next meeting scheduled for April 9th, and we do have 2 people scheduled to speak, but would love to have some additional folks If we have more speakers than scheduled times, we will absolutely continue to add meetings throughout the year. So again, reach out to us. Let us know if you're interested in participating, whether it's part of the leading the sessions, presenting, being on panels, or if you just want help connecting with some of your peers. We're happy to help facilitate that as well. And I think that is the last slide. So thank you all. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording. We will get this posted out there for you.